without that, I think I wouldn't have been so comfortable in who I am today. And I think just the aspect of being resilient and pushing through everything that I have going on. I have an ongoing injury that has been going on for so long. So I think just pushing through that, I mean, it's draining, but at the end of the day, it's so worth it to see the progress that I've made. And progress isn't linear, so I think that's just something that keeps me going as well.
Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that brings you inside the world of women's hockey, one story at a time. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I'm joined by Alaina Giampietro, forward and captain at Robert Morris University. Alaina, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I am fantastic. I'm so glad that you're here. We have so much to talk about. An incredible career, no big deal. Spoilers ahead, I suppose. But I wanted to start off our conversation talking about maybe how you found the game of hockey, or maybe how the game of hockey found you. So you grew up in Strongsville, Ohio. What
Yes.
first drew you to the game of hockey, and at what point maybe did you realize, like, this is something I want to pursue in my life?
Ever since I was a kid, I've been a go-getter. My grandpa used to run the rink that I played at growing up, so it was pretty much handed to me there. The stick was already in my hand. So I think growing up through him and all his critiques and lessons that I've learned through him, it's been awesome. And then finding Cleveland Barons and Gilmore Academy have really shaped my hockey career.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into both of those things in just a moment, of course, but maybe share those earliest memories. You mentioned, basically you were born with that stick in your hand. Of course, that's fair. But maybe what were some of those earliest memories that really, maybe good or bad, but that really made the game of hockey something that you wanted to pursue?
Um, I remember growing up and always asking my grandpa to go to the rink, and I would get on there with him, learning how to skate with, the little red pylon thing that you
Mhm.
push around, and then finally, gain my feet under me. And I do remember a couple times he would just get me on the ground and like spin me around with his stick. So I think from that point forward, I knew that I had a future going forward with the sport.
And it's great because all of those things were fun things, right?
Yes.
Like, and it reminds you, or maybe that's like, it's a great foundation that it always comes back to, this is just a lot of fun,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so as I mentioned off the top, captain at RMU, but leadership is something that has long been a part of your hockey career, as well as success and accolades. And that, you had mentioned just a moment ago as well about Gilmore Academy. You were captain at Gilmore Academy. There was also no big deal, an MVP there. Again, no big deal. When you look back at that period of time, your junior career, what were some of those biggest lessons that you learned during your time with Gilmore Academy, being a leader, receiving those accolades? What were some of those biggest lessons that shaped you then, for sure, of course, but also have had a lasting impression on you?
I think the biggest thing is, hard work pays off. I'm not someone that has things handed to me often, and I'm grateful for having the people around me to, push me to where I am today. But I just think that throughout my career that I was able to just push through some adversity, and also realizing now that looking back on that, like I stayed in the moment. I was hard on myself, and I think that's just who I am. But at the end of the day, like getting through those times, those the good and the bad, and getting to where I am today, like that's something to be proud of. And I take that very not I don't take that lightly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and you shouldn't, right? That's a big part of building your character. And um, not to get too off track here, but maybe being able to overcome adversity, overcome those challenges. What did that prove to you? To be able to do it, to be able to not let that wall or that barrier or that challenge stop you from ultimately achieving your goals. What did that mean to you as well?
I like to say, like, I didn't prove anyone wrong, I proved myself wrong. I mean, the voices in your head are sometimes gonna get in the way of things, but I didn't let that happen. I like to say that I'm just a kid from Ohio. Um, we didn't have it easy growing up, but I think just proving myself wrong and proving those voices inside my head.
Ooh, that is some profound advice right off the top of the show. Wow, I love that. Um, and along with being a fantastic athlete, it seems like right from the start, you were also fantastic in your academics, in the classroom. And that's something that's been a constant throughout your career, of course. During your junior career, uh, you again on the ice, MVP, captain, off the ice, honor society, no big deal once again. But being able to balance those two things and to be so successful in both, like I can barely manage one of those things and you were yet you were successful in both. What did those experiences one and what did it teach you about yourself, knowing that you were able to somehow find a way to balance both and to be successful in both?
I think I have to give the people around me a lot of credit. Teachers, faculty, staff, coaches, like that doesn't go unnoticed. And I think for me, I just really leaned on them during those times and it got tough, but at the end of the day, like you're gonna have the resources around you. It's just, are you willing to use them?
Yes, I love that. That's so important. The things are there to help. You got to use them. How long do you think it took you to realize that there are so many resources there? Did it take you a little bit longer than you would have liked, or were you able to get that advice early enough, or that guidance maybe early enough to be able to make that impact?
Yeah, I would say it took me a little bit because I'm one of those people that likes to do things on my own, not really ask for help, which can get me in trouble with myself a little bit. But I think I would say like junior year is like when I finally started to realize like moving forward, I'm gonna have the things that I need right in front of me.
As we look through your career, let's move into current times, your collegiate career. Um, and specifically an aspect about your story that I found to be really fascinating. There are, of course, so many different pieces, but this one in particular is that you were originally you were originally planning and had originally committed to Ohio State before ultimately landing with RMU, at that point, the newly reinstated program at Robert Morris. Not an easy decision, of course, but could you maybe talk about what what it was about RMU and the program there, and knowing that it was something new that drew you from Ohio State, of course, to Robert Morris?
Yeah, I think I was in a really dark time at Ohio State. Freshman year was just like really tough, and I was still trying to find out what I wanted to do going forward. And I knew being there, I didn't know who I was as a person. Talking to Logan and Liam and now Carrie, like I found a staff that saw me as a person and not just a player. And I think a lot of times athletes get caught up in like, I want this, I want that. But like, I think at the end of the day, like you will succeed if you have the ability to be yourself outside of the gear that you put on.
Hmm. Oof. Just laying this fantastic advice and perspectives so consistently throughout our conversation. I'm loving this. Um, But with that, there is still a lot of uncertainty.
Yes.
Being a part of a startup program, I say startup reinstated, if you will, of course, program, but it had already been ended, right? And now it's only newly reinstated, of course, again when you first started there. Um, Being a part of something new and being a part of something that didn't have maybe the same expectations that an Ohio State has, or some of those other programs. What did that teach you? But maybe what did that afford you as well? Maybe was it freedom to be able to define who you were, as you've kind of mentioned? What did that maybe teach you, and what did you discover during that process?
Yeah, I discovered a lot. I mean, it hasn't been easy in any means, like, but I'm up for a challenge. I think it goes along with Logan's good saying is like, leave the place better than you found it. At the end of the day, everyone here at RMU wants to leave the place better than we found it, leave a legacy that people want to be a part of. And that's something that I wanted to be a part of where I could just build up not a new program, but like you
Mhm.
said, like a
Yeah.
newly reinstated program from ground zero and make it something that's people wanted to become of.
And you are in a great position to be able to do that again because you're captain. Right? So, of course, I always say that when it comes to leadership and wearing a letter, it is often it's just a letter, right? And it can be anyone on the team. Just because you have a letter doesn't change anything, but it does. It does. It means that there's some added responsibilities. And you are leading that group. You're leading a newly reinstated program. What have you learned about yourself and your leadership style, especially because this isn't your first time being a leader? And have you found that you've kind of evolved as a leader between your junior career and now, of course, with RMU?
Definitely. I think my junior career, I led by example, and that's obviously hasn't changed here. But I think more so now, I have to use my voice a little bit more, which obviously it's a learning curve. But I think definitely just looking back at the leaders that I had growing up, and then seeing how I can put their good teachings into effect, like really helps me. And then at the end of the day, I really just want to see my teammates succeed. So.
Oh, spoken like a true leader right there. That's for sure. Okay, so then you mentioned it there, but I'd love to hear who were some of those maybe role models or some of those influences that really laid the foundation. Maybe it's not even something hockey related. Maybe it's family or someone else, right? That helped kind of lay the foundation for who you have become. Who are some of those people for you?
It definitely takes me back to my papa. He's been someone that I've always looked up to. I mean, he got me started in the game, but he's also a go-getter. I mean, he hasn't retired yet, and he's like 71 now, so he's still kicking it, working. So I think that's just something that I hold, so close to the heart, that I know I have a family behind me, but also playing boys hockey. Also realized that the leaders that I had there, they had my back, and they also like, I saw kind of a different perspective from the game outside of the girls' hockey aspect.
Hmm, hmm. Um, of course, you're in college now. It means you have to major in something, and you have majored in sports management. Um, how has maybe that influenced the way that you think about your own future in the game of hockey as well?
Um, Honestly, it's been kind of guideful. I'm in a sport coaching class right now, so that's just kind of some of the classes that we have to take, sport management, sport marketing. So it's kind of just preparing me for the outside world. But at the end of the day, I really do want to coach the younger generations coming up into the game, because I want to give back to them something I didn't have
Mhm.
during my time playing at their age.
Yeah, and I guess how meaningful, I mean, maybe I'm projecting a little bit because you're not quite there yet, but I mean, we're going to get into some of the coaching that you're doing now, but just how meaningful is it to be able to, even right now, to be able to be giving back, but also know that's where you ultimately feel like you're most compelled to kind of pursue post graduation, of course.
Oh, the best way to put it is the inner girl inside me, the one that I play for, is happy seeing that I'm giving other girls the reason to play for too.
Hmm. Okay, fair. Um, So once again, we're going to come back to this. Somehow you continue to find that balance between now you're, a leader in a newly reinstated program. It feels like every game I'm watching, I see your name on the score sheet somewhere, and you're excelling off the ice in your academics as well. Especially now that you're continuing through your collegiate career, how have you, or maybe how have those experiences, being able to balance all of that stuff, what's that really taught you about things like discipline, things like responsibility, things, all those kinds of things about yourself throughout your collegiate career?
I mean, resiliency is the main thing, just kind of putting your head down, going to work. Um, I mean, I'm grateful because sport management, you really have a lot of work compared to like nursing majors or all
Hmm.
the science side of things. But um, I think definitely now I lean more onto the faculty and staff and our coaching staff more than I did in juniors, because they understand and they've dealt with it for so long, because that's what they've been doing at the level that we're at right now. But definitely, I think a lot of responsibility goes into attending class, getting work done, showing up to practice, making sure you're focused. So I think that's very important, because at the end of the day, you don't want to show up half-assed, as I like to put it,
Mhm,
uh,
mhm, mhm,
but
mhm,
you have to just give
mhm.
your all in everything you do.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and you do, and that is represented in the many accolades that you have received during your collegiate career. I could list them all, but then this episode would be twice as long. But there are some that I wanna highlight, like Rookie of the Year, Team MVP, Igniter Award. Um, I kind of blow through those, but they're of course major accolades, major accomplishments. But I want to give you a chance to kind of reflect and you know, it's about the journey that got you to those opportunities. Those awards are a reflection of the hard work, the dedication, the drive that you put into your journey. What does it mean? What is that? What did it mean to be able to see something tangible, like an award, as a reflection of that journey to that?
It's a little bit emotional, I'm not gonna lie. I think coming from OSU and then into my first year here at RMU, like you said, there's a lot of uncertainty,
Mhm,
playing time, and, you know, I've been grateful for the spot that I'm in, playing a lot, getting the minutes, putting up points, and helping my team out. But at the end of the day, like, just the leader in me, like, obviously, I couldn't have done it without my teammates. They've definitely helped me a lot along the way, finding myself, but also finding the player that I used to be and also I'm becoming.
mhm. Um, I know that there's still time left in your collegiate career, but zoom out for a moment and think about when you first entered with RMU to now. Could you maybe talk about that growth that you've seen in yourself? Of course, on the ice, how you perform on the ice, how maybe you've seen your game grow, the coaching staff believing in you, how much that's meant, but also as a person. How have you grown since day one to right now in this moment?
I think confidence has grown definitely. I came in a little shy and now I'm pretty outgoing, as the girls would say. But I think it's important to look back on the player coach relationships that I have. I think without that, I think I wouldn't have been so comfortable in who I am today. And I think just the aspect of being resilient and pushing through everything that I have going on. I have an ongoing injury that has been going on for so long. So I think just pushing through that, I mean, it's draining, but at the end of the day, it's so worth it to see the progress that I've made. And
Hmm.
progress isn't linear. So I think that's just something that keeps me going as well.
Hmm. Um, Before we get into your incredible work as a coach, I feel like this would be a great spot because we've talked about resilience and perseverance. So I feel like that might be a bit of a good segue into, and it will also ultimately lead into the coaching aspect of things as well. I think women's hockey. The spotlight has never been brighter. We're seeing constant attendance records being broken, and these are big venues, MSG, TD Garden. Um, when you think about when you started to now, what does that mean to you to see those numbers, to see records falling, to see passion that you knew was always there? People just needed to see it.
I'm just glad the girls are getting the recognition that they deserve. It's awesome to see, and I hope more athletes play hockey throughout their years. I think there's the rate of people signed up for hockey was like 100,000 or something. So, I mean, that's awesome, and it's grown tremendously, and I hope it keeps growing because, I mean, there's big things ahead for the younger generations if they put in the work and keep going. So, I think that definitely goes into my coaching style and just like kind of shining the light on that.
Yes. So this did work out exactly the way that I had hoped it would. So this is great. Because yes, you are speaking of that next generation and helping to ensure that there's that passion, that they feel that passion and that excitement and that fun that you felt when you first started. You have been coaching with the Cleveland Barons U14 program. What inspired you to do that? Was it the fact that you could have this impact on the future generation? You found yourself to be a great teacher and you just wanted to find a great avenue to be able to be that teacher. What was it that inspired the coaching and inspires you even to this day?
Definitely giving back. It all started back on like a I would do skills throughout the summer whenever I would go home from wherever I was during that time. And I think just seeing the growth from the beginning of the summer to the end of the summer was something that I knew I had an impact on, and I knew that that's something that I always wanted to be a part of. So then flashback to coaching with U14s this past summer. I would do U8, U10, U14 with Barons, and it was just awesome to see the girls having fun, smiling, cracking jokes, messing with me. I think that's just like the biggest thing is just having fun, but also like staying present in those moments because at the end of the day, you're gonna age out of wherever you are. You're gonna leave behind some of your best friends during that time. But I think realizing that there's so much more to the game than putting the puck in the back of the net than there is. So I think
Mhm.
that's just the most important thing.
Yeah. How has coaching maybe influenced the way that you approach your game on the ice? You know, you get a unique perspective when you're coach because you're not in the drill. You get to watch. You're not necessarily in the game, of course. You get to watch it, so you're picking up on those nuances within the game. I know, of course, different skill level, all those sorts of things, of course. But how has that maybe translated to your own game and your own development on the ice as a player as well?
I think it definitely has helped me focus a little bit more during certain situations in practice and games, kind of enhancing my shot or working on
Mhm.
in zone battles. Like, I think just seeing it from looking back on it and watching film and then actually doing it in a game is so unique. And it's something that I hope other people do too, looking back on film and, coaching themselves, but also like using the resources again that they have to get better and allow themselves to learn things too.
Yeah, and maybe a newfound respect and appreciation for the coaching staff as well, because you are a coach as well too, of
Yes.
course. Um, so I know that we've kind of talked about this, but I want to circle back to it again because I want to know as well, like how has coaching maybe helped to shape how you see your own future in hockey and the kind of impact that you want to leave? I know that we've kind of talked about it, but it's just something that I find really fascinating about your story, especially because that is something that you want to see as a part of your future. You know, all the opportunities that you get to be a coach, to be inspiring that next generation. How does that kind of shape the impact that you want to leave on the game, whether that's with them, U14, U10, whatever, junior level, all the way up to collegiate as well?
I think it just goes back to, remembering your why, and giving them a reason to play the game, but also realizing that at some point the game's gonna end. So I think just putting your all into the game and allowing yourself to grow through it is something so important that I hope the girls that I coach in the near future maybe don't take for granted because I definitely don't take that for granted right now.
Okay, fair. So then the last coaching question I have before we get into the final segment here, at what level would you see when you think about coaching? Because it's clear that that's where you see your future in the game, and I think it's going to be an incredibly impactful um, aspect for sure. What level would you like to see yourself? Would you like to, are you comfortable working your way up? Do you want to do you have the ultimate dream of coaching? Maybe in the PWHL or maybe internationally to kind of gain that experience, what would what would you like your coaching resume to look like?
Well, I think it's good to have anything on your resume to start off. Like I said, I love working with the younger girls, but ultimately I do want to make it to the P Dub and,
Hmm.
coach those girls. Even the NHL, I think adding more
Hmm.
girl coaches to the
Hmm.
staff
Amen.
would be awesome.
Yep.
But I think ultimately we're I have no problem working my way up. I think just I do see a future with a pro team.
Okay, good. Well, you heard it here first. All right, I love it. Breaking news. Okay, so we have arrived at the final buzzer segment of today's show, and this is just a fun way, a few questions, last questions for you, just a kind of fun way to wrap up the conversation. And the first one is the one I always start with because we need to learn your secrets. What is your go-to pregame meal?
Some marinara pasta with some chicken and some bread.
Okay, some
Yeah.
bread, good add-on. Garlic bread or just like
I would say, like, you go to Italian restaurant and they
mm,
have just the, the
mm,
little slices, but no
yeah,
butter. I'm not a
okay.
big butter fan.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and it's marinara. You have marinara on the pasta. Just dip it in there. That's totally fine. I like that. That's good. That's good. What is one song or maybe an artist or a go-to playlist, if we want to go that way as well, that really sets the tone, gets you ready for game day?
So I'll give you a song and a playlist. So I'll start
Oh,
playlist.
bonus. I like this. Okay, great.
It's called Brick by Brick, and it's like a picture of me with my little she's 11 now. I coached her at Barron's. Her name's Colby. And it's just something to remind me of why I play the game and, inspiring her. And then this last song on that playlist, I kind of like go in order, but this one has to be last. It's Clear Eyes, Full Heart, Can't Lose. It's just something I've always listened to and it's been working for me. So
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I feel like on that one. Of course, of course. What is something that people may be surprised to learn about you?
um I would say definitely like I have this chronic or it's called complex regional pain syndrome. I don't really bring it up a lot because it's like not really something that I like to talk about with people. But I think just, learning the severity of it and seeing how I can push through that is, I mean, that's a lot of resilience and should be inspirational for those that have gone through injuries.
Last one for you. If you could go back and talk to your younger self back in Strongsville, Ohio, what do you think you would tell her about the journey ahead?
Stay true to yourself, stay present in the moment, and, remember why you play the game for who you play the game for.
Oh, you just keep it was just constant advice, great advice throughout this conversation. And that's a great way to wrap up that segment and today's episode. Alaina, this has been this has blown my mind. This has been so much fun. We've been talking for a while, and to actually be able to have the opportunity to sit down to chat with you, this has been incredible. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And if you enjoyed this episode as much as we both did, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow hockey fans. Your support helps me to keep bringing you stories just like this one from around the world of women's hockey. I'm Chris Sinclair. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Rinkside Rundown.